Welcome to Style and Confidence, where transformative coaching meets personal styling for business success. I'm your host, Claire Silk, a transformative life coach and a personal stylist, passionate about helping women like you align your inner worth with your outer expression. Each week, we explore how to build lasting confidence from the inside out, so you can show up as your most authentic, empowered self. Whether you're looking to break through limiting beliefs, build authentic confidence and a winning mindset, or create a wardrobe that truly empowers you, you are in the right place. Get ready to transform your relationship with both your mind and your style. Hello, and welcome back to episode 35 of the Style and Confidence podcast, where style meets confidence for business success. In today's episode, I want to look at something that I think might offer a different perspective and shift how you think about personal development and professional growth. Have you ever invested in therapy or coaching to work on your confidence and found it helped? Because coaching is powerful and it really does help. But maybe somehow you still felt invisible in meetings. Or maybe you've tried the other side of what I do and you've gone out shopping and bought a whole new wardrobe, felt amazing for about 2 weeks, and then found self-doubt began to creep back in again. What I've learned, both in my own journey and working with clients, is that confidence, style, and professional presence aren't necessarily separate problems. They're all interlinked. So today, I want to talk about this transformation triangle, as I call it. This holistic model recognises self-esteem isn't only psychological, it's also influenced by how you look, how you feel in your body, and how the world perceives and responds to you. And when you synchronise these three aspects, real sustainable transformation happens. Now, I don't wish for this to make you feel overwhelmed or cause you to worry that you have to address absolutely everything in order to feel confident. There is always a risk of overwhelm when we talk holistically, but I'm going to show you why this integrated approach is actually less overwhelming than the endless cycle of single solution thinking that never quite gets you where you want to go. So, traditional approaches to building confidence or developing your personal presence tend to exist in silo. You turn to therapy or coaching and you work on your limiting beliefs. You identify the childhood patterns, you process the imposter syndrome, you learn to challenge negative self-talk, and that is valuable work, genuinely it is, and it will get you most of the way there. But then maybe you walk into a networking event wearing an outfit that makes you feel frumpy or invisible, and suddenly all that inner work feels inaccessible, like it's there but you can't quite reach it. Or maybe you do the opposite. You invest in a wardrobe upgrade. You get the blazer that makes you feel powerful, the dress that makes you stand taller. You look in the mirror and think, yes, that's it. But then someone asks you what you do and you fumble through an unclear and lengthy answer about your business. Or you downplay your expertise and you realise the outfit can't do the inner work for you. It can only get you so far. Or, as a client of mine perfectly put it, the right pair of jeans can only do so much. And then there's personal branding. Maybe you've spent hours perfecting your LinkedIn profile, crafting the perfect bio, curating your Instagram aesthetic. But if every time you show up in person, there's a disconnect between who you are online and how you present yourself in real life, the energy, the appearance, the confidence level, people will feel it. And it creates this weird sense of inauthenticity that perhaps you can't quite put your finger on. Mindset work without external alignment feels invisible. Style makeovers without inner work feel superficial. And personal branding without authenticity feels forced. There's research that backs this up. A study published in Social, Psychological and Personality Science found that people who experience what researchers call self-concept clarity, meaning a clear, consistent understanding of who they are across contexts, report a significantly higher life satisfaction and lower anxiety. Importantly, that clarity has to show up both internally and externally. A client came to me after spending time working with a business coach. She knew she was an expert in her field, could articulate her value, and knew where she wanted to take her business. But she was still getting passed over and felt that something was in the way. She felt like she wasn't being taken seriously in her industry and was left doubting herself. When we started working together, we looked at what she typically wore to important meetings. It was nothing that commanded presence. Her business was on its way and she had a clear strategy, but she hadn't caught up yet. With a clear vision of where her business was going, we worked on her inner transformation, building her self-belief, and moved on to reflect it in her external presentation with intentional styling that reflected her actual expertise and strategic branding that positioned her as the authority she'd become. So let's break down these three corners of my transformation triangle and understand how they work together. Corner one is confidence. This is the inner foundation. This is your psychological baseline, your self-esteem, your internal narrative, your belief in your own value and capability. Neuroscience research using fMRI scans has shown that when we experience self-doubt or imposter syndrome, it activates the same brain regions associated with physical threat. Your brain perceives a confidence challenge as a danger signal. That matters because it means confidence isn't just mindset, it's embodied. It affects your cortisol levels, your posture, your vocal tone, and even your immune function. Limiting beliefs don't just live in your head. They actually show up in tangible ways. Let me give you an example. A common limiting belief I see clients holding at a subconscious level is that they don't deserve to be successful. Whilst this doesn't make you feel good, it also manifests in unhelpful ways. Maybe you wear clothes that hide you, oversized everything, dark colours, zero personality. Think big baggy tops with leggings and lots of black. Or do you have a social media bio of just 3 sentences that undersell your 15 plus years of expertise? Maybe you avoid networking events. Or when you do attend, you position yourself in corners and try to fade into the background. Your self-belief system controls your visibility. When you start working on your external presentation, that is the style and branding, it creates a feedback loop. If you wear an outfit that makes you feel powerful, you will walk differently, people will respond to you differently, and that external validation starts to rewire your internal belief. As I talk about a lot, what you wear influences your psychological processes and your behaviour. So the inner work matters enormously. It's your foundation, but it's not the whole story. So corner 2 is style. This is the physical expression. Your appearance is communication. Before you speak, before you share your credentials, people are reading you. This is where I feel it is really important to intentionally dress for self-expression that aligns with who you are and where you are going. Research from Princeton University found that people form first impressions in 1/10 of a second. And whilst we can't control people's biases, indeed these are often unconscious, we can control whether our external presentation accurately represents our internal reality and we convey the message that we want to. After all, you've worked hard to build your expertise. You've invested in your skills, your education, and your experience. Your appearance is either reinforcing that investment or undermining it. Interestingly, a study in the Journal of Fashion Marketing and Management found that professional women who dressed in a way that aligned with their role and industry reported higher job satisfaction and confidence, not because they looked better, but because the coherence between their inner identity and outer presentation reduced cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is what happens in your brain when there's a mismatch and you experience a mental discomfort when your beliefs don't match your behaviour. So in this case, when you feel like a leader, but you dress like you've just graduated, that internal conflict drains your energy. This is not a fake it till you make it strategy, but rather it's dressing the part and honouring who you are becoming. It's strategic self-expression. Those choices compound daily. Every morning when you get dressed, you're either reinforcing, I am someone who matters, who takes up space, who deserves to be seen, or you're reinforcing the opposite. When you get dressed each day, you are making a decision. And finally, corner 3, branding, the external perception. So now you've got the inner confidence, you've got the external presentation, but how are you positioning yourself? What's the story people tell about you when you're not in the room? Your personal brand is how the world experiences you. At the moment, we often see personal branding reduced to logos and colour palettes. And it's your online presence for sure, but it's more than that. It is also how you show up in meetings, how you introduce yourself, how you follow up, how you behave, and what you are known for. If there's a disconnect between your confidence level and your brand positioning, or between your styling and your brand messaging, people can sense it. A study from Harvard Business Review found that professionals with strong, consistent personal brands were more likely to be considered for leadership positions, even when their technical skills were identical to peers without that brand clarity. Your personal brand is the bridge between your internal value and external opportunity. It's how you translate "I'm confident and capable" into "and here's why you should hire me, promote me, or partner with me." And this is where all three corners come together. When confidence, style, and branding are in sync, you know your value, that's the confidence. You look like someone who knows their value, that's the style. And you communicate your value clearly and consistently, that's the branding. And when those three things align, you experience a completeness. There's no internal friction. You're not performing, you're not pretending. You're not swapping between different versions of yourself. You are completely and authentically you. Research on authentic leadership shows that when leaders experience this kind of congruence, when their internal values, external presentation, and public messaging align, they report lower stress, higher job satisfaction, and their teams rate them as more trustworthy and effective. And there's a ripple effect. It shows up in your relationships because you're not hiding parts of yourself. It shows up in your career because you're no longer underselling or over-apologising. It shows up in how you move through the world because you are not consistently managing the gap between who you are and who you are presenting. This accelerates growth in ways that working on just one area can't. As women, we often feel like we have to do everything and do it all brilliantly. It's exhausting and it's impossible. Now we're bombarded with messages that create endless tick lists of inadequacy. Work on your mindset, sort out your wardrobe, optimise your brand, meditate, journal, earn a 5k a month, earn 10k a month, have a 6-figure, 7-figure business, meal prep, be Mary Poppins, be the perfect wife, an immaculate house, have a perfectly trained dog. And before you know it, personal development becomes a full-time job where you are never quite enough. So I want to acknowledge that there is a risk of overwhelm whenever we approach something holistically. And there is a risk of making women in particular feel like they have to perform perfection in every domain just to meet the mark. My approach is not because you're broken. Coaching, in fact, always assumes that your client is well, complete, and resourceful. This is about alignment. You don't need to fix 3 different parts of yourself. You just need to bring the parts that already exist in their truest form into coherence with each other. You already get dressed every day. You already show up professionally in some capacity. You already have some level of self-awareness. I'm not trying to add to your to-do list. I am adding intentionality to things that you are already doing. Also, holistic does not mean simultaneously. You don't have to overhaul everything at once. In my programs, we work step by step through this using my silk method by making small aligned changes across all 3 areas. You work on one limiting belief, you update one aspect of your wardrobe, you clarify one element of your brand messaging, and those 3 small changes reinforce each other. Until I became a coach, my career was in fashion retail, where we based a lot on the Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rule as you might know it by. 20% of your efforts produce 80% of your results. And I've found this applies here too. Small changes in all 3 areas create more impact than a massive overhaul in just one. So which component matters most? Well, whichever one feels most accessible to you right now. For some, it's the inner work that needs more focus. For others, it's the external work. Everyone is unique. If you are someone who loves internal work, start with confidence. The style and branding will follow more naturally because you have clarity about who you are. If you are visual and tactile, start with style. Sometimes the external shift creates the internal permission to step into confidence. And if you're strategic and business-minded, start with branding. Clarifying where and how you want to position yourself often illuminates the inner work and presentation upgrades that need to happen. There's no wrong door into this transformation. The key is that you don't stop at one door. And there are times when focusing on one area first is exactly right. If you're in the middle of a mental health crisis, working on your brand messaging is not the priority. Getting therapeutic support is. If you're in a major life transition, like a divorce or grief, Maybe simplifying your wardrobe to reduce decision fatigue is the kindest thing you can do for yourself. Sustainable, authentic confidence comes from alignment, not perfection. So here are 3 quick wins, one for each area, that you can implement this week. First up is confidence, the morning identity statement. Tomorrow morning, before you even check your phone, I want you to complete this sentence. Say it out loud. I am someone who. This mustn't be aspirational. It's not one day. It is present tense, true and believable. Who are you right now that you keep forgetting about or downplaying? Perhaps, I am someone who solves complex problems, or I am someone who leads with empathy, or I am someone who creates beautiful things. Whatever it is, say it out loud. Let your brain hear it in your own voice. Research on self-affirmation theory shows that this kind of values-based self-statement actually reduces defensive responses to threatening information and improves problem-solving under stress. Do this every morning for a week and see what changes. Next is style, the signature piece exercise. Go to your wardrobe, or do it mentally if you're driving or on your dog walk, and identify one piece of clothing that makes you feel most like yourself. Not most trendy, but most you. What is it about that piece? The colour, the fit, the texture, the memory attached to it perhaps, the way people respond when you wear it, maybe the compliments that you receive. Now build outwards from that. If that piece represents your authentic style, what would 3 more pieces that echo that same feel look like? You don't have to buy them today, just identify them. Perhaps you already have them. This is about clarity. You're not trying to dress like someone else or someone you think you should be. You're trying to amplify what already works. And number 3, branding. The First Impression Audit. Do this across 3 places. For example, your LinkedIn profile, your email signature, and how you introduce yourself in person. Try and find different areas, so in-person, behaviour, and online presence. Read your LinkedIn headline and summarise it as if you are a stranger. What do you think this person does? What is their level of expertise? Would you hire them? Look at your email signature. Does it communicate professionalism and clarity, or is it just your name and a phone number? And when someone asks you what you do, what's your answer? Is it clear, confident, and compelling? Do you believe it? Or is it apologetic and vague? You're looking for consistency. Do these 3 touch points all tell the same story? If not, the gap is where you start. You'll know you're ready for this kind of holistic transformation when you've tried fixing one thing and it didn't stick. When you've worked on confidence but still feel invisible. When you've updated your wardrobe but still feel like an imposter. Or when you've polished your brand but it still feels performative. That's when you know the missing piece is integration. And if there's a part of you that's thinking, yes, I've been working on these things separately and it's not adding up, then that's your signal. The main thing I want you to take away from today is that sustainable transformation happens when your inner work meets your outer expression. Confidence alone isn't enough if the world can't see it. Great style isn't enough if it's not backed by self-belief. A polished brand isn't enough if it doesn't feel true to who you are. When you align who you are, how you look, and how you're perceived, everything changes. Now, if you're ready to start building your transformation triangle, I have a free guide called 5 Ways to Improve Your Style and Confidence, giving you 5 actionable ways you can boost your style and confidence. I'll leave the link in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here today. I'll see you next week when I'll talk about the daily psychology of getting dressed and why your morning wardrobe choice might be the most important decision you'll make all day. Until then, dress like you mean it. Thank you for listening to Style and Confidence, where style meets confidence for business success. If you have enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend, rate, review and subscribe so you never miss out on our weekly confidence building conversations. You can also connect with me over on LinkedIn as Claire Silk or on Instagram at Silk Style and Confidence for more style and mindset tips. Until next time, remember, true confidence comes from within. Style helps it shine.